Hey guys, Bluescreen Bronies here for episode 29, a special episode of a roundtable discussion of all things gaming. Some very important subjects here. We got 6 or 7 topics to go over. I'm Draco. My co-host Dpad's here with us.
Hey.
And we got Ramble from EFN. He's an audio editor.
Hello.
We have Tall Tale, the creator of Role Playing is Magic.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And Hunter, who is another tabletop game creator.
Howdy, howdy.
Alright, like I said, we have a few things to go over. We're going to try to get over them as uneventful as possible. I hope no one gets mad, butthurt, and or stomp off and write this on their live journal.
Yes, we are going to try to avoid tangents and run-ons.
As well as the gnashing of teeth.
Oh, and also the console war insults, evidently.
Well, we all know PC is Master Race, so we can just put that down right there.
Oh, screw you, Master System, guys. Master System.
Alright. Well, let's not get too heated, shall we?
Anyway. Okay, over the past couple weeks, EA has reported that they have acquired the Star Wars franchising for games. What does this mean for the future of the Star Wars game franchises? Does this mean we're going to get Battlefront 3? Does it mean we're going to get more KOTORs? Does this mean that Knights of the Old Republic, or not Knights of the Old Republic, the Old Republic on the MMO on the computer is going to actually not suck? Does this mean Princess Leia is not going to be a Disney princess? What does this mean exactly? And what are your thoughts on it? We're going to start with you, Telltale.
Oh man. Well, first of all, I hadn't actually even thought about Princess Leia as Disney princess, and now my mind's kind of blown by that. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so back and forth on the Star Wars franchise. Like, I'm one of the crowd that's very happy that Disney took it over, but I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of EA. I guess at least recently. So I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword. They've got some good developers, on hand that they're giving the license to. I mean, DICE is really good, and of course BioWare. But I don't know. I guess I'm in the let's wait and see boat. If that makes sense. I think if they let the individual studios do their thing and not interfere too much, I think they'll be all right. I mean, I think that's true generally, but
Funny you should mention DICE. They just opened up a new studio in LA exclusively for Star Wars titles. So we could see DICE behind the development of games like Battlefront 3 or similar, Star Wars kind of battle scenarios.
Yeah. I don't know if that'd be a good idea, because DICE has not been too popular recently.
Okay, Battlefield 3, mixed results. Battlefield Bad Company 1 and 2 were very solid games. Look back, Battlefield 2 even, an amazing game. Battlefield 2142. That was, a really cool, interesting step in a new direction.
I love 2142, but the problem isn't that. It's more of recent history plays more on people's minds than past history. I mean, because, everybody... Okay, if you say Diablo, what's the first thing that comes to mind most people? Diablo 3. They don't know about Diablo 2, or mostly haven't played it because that was back in 1999. Most people in this fandom were born then.
Okay, that's given, but we're also looking at, this is the 8th iteration of Battlefield now.
Yes.
And
yeah.
So you're going to have to expect, because this is their second. Well, technically, fifth movement in a modern era shooter, where they're also at the same time pandering a little bit to the Call of Duty kids, for sales, because that's what EA likes to do. But as far as tech and studio staff and things like that go, DICE is a very solid team that knows what they're doing.
They know what they're doing, but you gotta look at publisher influence. I mean, Activision is a good example there. Someone had a point to make?
Yeah, I'm just saying Obviously, Des has made some excellent games, and the parallels between the newer Battlefield games and what's happening with Call of Duty as of late aside, I think it comes down to, we know that EA didn't buy the IP because they just felt that the games weren't receiving the TLC that they deserved and that the fans of the games deserved. They're in a business to make money, and obviously they picked up the IP to put out these games. There's only so much freedom that a developer has. Obviously, EA didn't pick up the IP to let the developers have free reign on it. They want the games out, and unfortunately, I think that the current state of EA's releases is going to speak for itself, unfortunately.
I mean, Disney's the one that's licensing it out to them, so I mean, it's not going to be too terrible, I don't think, because really, everybody thought it was going to be horrible when Marvel was bought by Disney, but then the Avengers came out, and the Avengers blew everybody away. So, I kind of have hopes, but then again, EA does have a very, 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 very bad reputation, especially getting hacked, 3 times within 2 months?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I guess talk about it in a more broad context. I think a lot of it doesn't matter what publisher ended up picking it up. I think it's going to the success of Star Wars games going forward is going to be very much dependent on what they choose to tackle. Like, I don't know that going backward anymore is going to work in terms of timeline. So, like, for example, for DICE, because they can, we've seen that they can do the Battlefield games very well. I'd be interested not to see like another clone trooper type game, but I'd be interested to see something that goes forward from Episode 6 that uses that sort of engine and that sort of gameplay. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Battlefield is using Vong, beat people with a stick, that kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like instead of it's back in the past, but I don't know, I'd like to see what happens with the New Republic and all of that. Like if you were a trooper for them, I don't know. But I think in general going forward in the timeline's better. So it really depends on how they're going to approach it.
All right, Hunter, any thoughts on the subject?
Well, to go all the way back to the very beginning of your first question, I actually have quite a few friends here in Austin who work for BioWare, who work for Tor, and they get these special little show and tell meetings that they're not really supposed to tell about, but they tell their friends. It's a thing that happens. So because of the anonymity of this, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys in on a couple of things, specifically about the possibility of further BioWare-centric role-playing games. There have been quite a few rumors floating around the BioWare Austin office, which is mostly like QA, customer service, that sort of thing. They do all the heavy lifting out in California, but they have pretty much all but confirmed in office that they're going to be working on another Knights of the Old Republic game in the same style of the old ones. So that's exciting. I always loved those.
Nice.
All the way back to, what is that? What was BioWare's first crazy RPG? Neverwinter Nights?
I think
something. Yeah.
No. I think they were called Black Isle before, and that would have been Baldur's Gate.
That's right. Black Isle. I completely forgot they used to be Black Isle. But you have Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Mass Effect, Knights of the Old Republic. You have Dragon Age. They know what works with their crazy deep RPGs, and so that's pretty exciting. Even with the shadow of EA hanging over them. But isn't EA retaining complete autonomy from Disney? Didn't their contract allow them to do whatever they wanted or continue doing what they wanted?
Yeah,
as far as I've read, yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably some stipulations that we're not privy to, of course, because there's always stipulations, like it has to sell so many copies, or it has to sell so well, or it has to sell so many units, that kind of thing, or it has to have so much DLC and continued support, so many patches per week or month or whatever.
Right.
There's so many stipulations in the contract that it's hard to just kind of generalize it like they have full autonomy, because they have full autonomy based on certain restrictions, probably. It's not going to be like, oh, well, we're going to give you free reign with this game that we own that you're going to license from us.
Right.
But here, just adhere to this "don't screw it up" clause.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it becomes a giant Princess Leia dress-up game that no one wanted.
Oh boy.
But we could literally talk about this subject for days on end, so we're going to have to move on just to save some time. E3 is coming up, and there's been a lot of drama around this E3 conference, mainly around Nintendo. They're not going to have a big conference like they usually do every year. Instead, they're just going to have like a smaller booth where they list some games, and that begs the question of, did Nintendo run into financial trouble with the Wii U? Is it not selling as well as they hoped, or are they trying to back off and let it kind of die down so they can release some big name games? And also, what are our predictions for the E3 conferences and or game releases? I'm going to go ahead and spearhead this one first as far as prediction-wise. I've been following this game from NCSoft called Blade and Soul for a while, and I seriously hope that we see a North American release date at E3. But as far as E3 drama, Nintendo seems like they've dug themselves into too deep of a hole with the Wii U, and they gotta back off. That's just my opinion.
Man, the Wii U had so much potential, and it doesn't seem like anybody tapped it. There's a comic that I particularly like. It's one of the Penny Arcade comics, and it's just like 2 panels of them talking about, well, here's how you'd make like a D&D game where if you've got the Wii U, you're the DM, and then everybody else is playing their characters. And at the end of it, they're like, okay, that idea is free. Go. Like, somebody take this.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was just like,
Yeah.
that would be an amazing game because
Like,
I mean,
that's genius. It works on the whole difference of like mystery. One person has more information. I forget what that's called, but just it seems like there was a lot of potential for that with the Wii U that kind of nobody really went out on the limb to try to go for, and I don't know.
So I think that like those ideas, they're fantastic ideas, but I think it comes down to risk. Like if you're trying to get a publisher or a developer to say take that idea and run with it, they're going to look at, well, what's the market for this game, and then they're going to say, well, no, that's not large enough to justify the cost. We'll develop something else. And I think that that's also kind of what bit Nintendo on this, is that they're fantastic at they've released some amazing games with the IPs that they have, but I don't think that those necessarily translate over to the Wii U very well. Right. You could go and say, well, how's the Metroid going to handle the Wii U? And it's, oh, you put a map on there. Obviously, I'm not trying to come up with any ideas, but it's just, I don't think that the IPs that they're used to developing with for the consoles, for launch titles and all that, necessarily showcase the Wii U. And I think that that's part of what's really hurt them with the launch, is that what they develop with doesn't showcase the console like they need it to.
That kind of goes to a broader thing that I guess maybe I'm alone in this, but like that I've seen with Nintendo, with a lot of their stuff that comes out, where the cool stuff that they come out with is like an add-on. So like it's not like for example the double screen handheld
DS,
yeah, where it's like that has a lot of potential if you design it from the ground up to use that sort of thing, and it's all sort of designed for that. But it seems like a lot of times it's Mario and then there's this other screen, or it's Mario and then you've also got this other controller, and it seems like a lot of stuff is done that way. And I like the risk argument because that's a very good point.
Well, even Pokemon doesn't even... I mean, that's their biggest DS seller is Pokemon. Pokemon doesn't even use the full advantage of the DS touchscreen.
No, it's
I mean, you can use it, but it's quicker just to use the L and R buttons to shift through your Pokédex. You can use it to sort through items, but it's much quicker just to hit, the Dpad and go through with the A and B buttons. It's a nice idea, but it's not exactly executed pretty well. The only game where I got full use out of the touchscreen was a game called Etrian Odyssey 3, and that's where you have to make your own map through the dungeon so you don't get lost.
Right. What I was saying is,
okay,
a lot with the Wii U is the problem that is, they're having to remake the wheel yet again, because this is a platform where not a lot of people seen this before, so there's not really a industry standard.
All right. Any other points on the matter before we move on to PlayStation?
And it kind of makes sense also for Nintendo. Like, I don't know, I'm not surprised that Nintendo's not doing a big presentation, just because it seems like they're not as, I don't know, invested maybe in E3 as some of the other things are. Like, for example, there's going to be the big Xbox and PlayStation thing that's going on there, and Xbox and PlayStation are pretty much hardcore type things. You know, if you have one, you're kind of a hardcore gamer, you know, or at least you're generally using it for more than you would use like a Nintendo. But then Nintendo's kind of got their core that's not really kind of the E3 crowd, if that makes sense. I don't think they necessarily need to be as concerned with E3. So I don't see it as a bad thing or an indication. They might just be kind of refocusing on their strength, which, I know, to their credit.
Well, to make a point before we give Hunter a turn to interject here, Nintendo used to be the console that the hardest games were on. I mean, look at Ninja Gaiden. I keep saying Gaiden today. I don't know why. Yeah, Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, you had Batman for the NES. You had a ton of just a plethora of hard games, just like skill level hard games that came out through the NES, the SNES, and even the N64. Just so many games that were at a high skill level, and it was all Nintendo. Granted that they were doing innovations like the Rumble Pack and that kind of stuff with the N64, the Super FX graphics processor chip for the Super Nintendo, and even just the music compositions on the NES. Anyway, Hunter, go ahead and make your case here.
I view Nintendo as a completely separate entity from the other two, the Xbox and PlayStation, you know, groups fist fighting in the parking lot. Nintendo is more of a gateway drug to video games, if you catch what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They cater towards accessibility, right? So anybody can pick it up. You know, grandma can pick it up and you know, bowl on her Wii, or you can pick up a Game Boy and play a tiny little handheld game that's really simple, that's really straightforward, colorful, and, you know, enjoyable. And Microsoft and Sony don't really have the ability to keep up with that because they're so invested in keeping up with each other. So it seems like they're drag racing with each other while, you know, Nintendo's just skipping around in the field doing whatever they feel like, because that's what it looks like to me. And they come out with all, you know, innovation constantly right on top of the previous iteration of whatever they're building, and it's starting to look like it's eroding. Maybe they're focusing on innovation maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to PlayStation. PlayStation kind of dropped a bomb earlier in the year with their conference. They said that they were going to have a console that not only ran physics, but would be able to have dual CPU, not dual core, but dual CPU configurations to where one can stream a game download and one can play the game, so that way you're not bogged down while you're playing and or streaming. So there's I don't know, PlayStation seems to be getting on the ball for a lot of things that were wrong with the PlayStation 3 and just kind of like upping the ante a little bit, because they even have a share button where you can share photos or video clips of your gameplay online. But the major thing that I think has a lot of people's attention, and I think needs to be explained a little bit more at E3, is when they said that they were going to be able to stream the past library of the PlayStation games. Does that mean all PlayStation games from PlayStation 1 all the way up to PlayStation 3?
Let's hope so.
Or does that just mean
so.
PlayStation 3? So we're going to have more explanation of that, and what do you guys think? We'll start with Ramble.
Can I actually go second? Or
Gee, like you got a choice. Okay, we'll start with Hunter.
Okay, well, the last PlayStation model I owned was a PlayStation 2, so forgive me if I'm completely ignorant of most of this. But from what I've seen, the PlayStation as an entity has really stepped up its game. They, like you said, have just added all kinds of crazy bells and whistles, and it seems like they've rectified a lot of the problems that have been very vocal in the communities of people that, you know, complain about these sort of things, which is the internet as a whole, I guess. 12-year-olds getting angry on forums, etc. But just looking at the controller itself, have you guys seen the controller?
Yeah, with
Yep.
Steam
Yeah.
controller.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
assumed you had, but had to check. It's got some sort of LED style screen in the middle. Is that correct, or is it more?
Yeah. It's
Think
I
it's
think
like
it's
a
a
touch
touch
screen.
screen,
Okay.
motion sensitive, lights, blah blah blah.
Okay, well, that seems almost a little bit too much, because you only have two hands, and so when you're not
For
playing
now.
the game for now, when you're
Yeah, really.
when you're using the controller to play a game, you can't really utilize the touchscreen because of the way the controller's built. Your thumbs can't reach the middle very well, so I'm not really sure why they have that there. It's probably more of a look what we can do, neener, Microsoft, you suck, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't really understand some of the things they're doing with it. I've seen a concept picture of the PlayStation 4, and it was on Reddit, and nobody knows what's true on Reddit, but it looked really interesting. It looked like it was actually designed to have other peripherals on top of it, like a DVD player or a television. The design was very flat and wide, and it looked like it was meant for things to rest on top of it. So maybe they're trying to preempt Valve with the Steam box and the whole living room console idea, and make it more integrated and shiny for those tech heads that would flock to it.
All right, to jump in on that point of the controller, I think that full touchscreen there is more for sifting through your game library, or sifting through your movie library, more than anything, because I can't see a literal reason why you should need to touch that at all during gameplay, because I've got pretty long fingers and thumbs here. I don't know if I would be able to take full advantage of that, because that would also cause some pretty nasty carpal tunnel too.
Yes, it would.
But as far as the console, no one really knows what the console looks like, to be honest with you. I mean, the Xbox is wide and flat too. You can set stuff on top of it. The problem is it overheats.
Right.
The old PlayStation 2 had the same problem, and it would actually break discs and lasers if you put too much stuff on top of it. So, like, the real question is, what could they do with the PlayStation 4 that no one else can? And the only thing that comes to mind for me is the streaming the old game library. And if they make that a subscription service where the games are free and you can download 2 at a time or something like that, for $8 a month, that instantly beats out Xbox Live in my opinion. What's your thought on that, Ramble?
I could definitely see them having a feature like that. I don't know whether the entire library would be supported, if for nothing else then the backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 3 is something that Sony has shown absolutely no interest in reviving, from the original the launch consoles, although that was in hardware. It might just be almost a desperation thing, and that needing a killer app, because both consoles, the Xbox and the PS3, did their experiments with the Kinect and Move and all that, which seemed more intent on kind of console longevity. Not exactly sure how well those managed to work out, but I think from a developer or a development point of view, that the move away from the cell processor into more like just straight x86 based is intended to kind of avoid those the early stumbles, I think, with launch titles, and kind of reluctance perhaps on developers to approach the console and to kind of push what it's capable of until later in its life cycle. But definitely the ability to stream, whether it's subscription based or pay per title. Given the fact that they've retired the PlayStation 2, they've got an entire library there that they can make use of, either on the secondary market, which they make no money on, or if they offer this, then not only does it provide an incentive for people who may have wanted backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 3 that have those titles or something, and don't want to be using the old PlayStation 2, or if there's this kick the bucket. It's something I would certainly look forward to.
There's there's a couple things that have just sort of occurred to me here. The first thing is basically, I think Sony has kind of understood that the main strength that that the Xbox, the 360 had over the PS3 wasn't necessarily like exclusivity. Like I think PlayStation pretty much had that, but was the service idea. It's not that you're buying a console; you're kind of buying a service. You got the the Xbox Live and all of their cool stuff that came with that, and that definitely had the strength there. So I think they're kind of figuring out that if they brought that on board, then I mean, really, what would be the advantage on the other side? And so it kind of brings them more neck and neck in sort of the drag race that Hunter was talking about. So I like that they seem to be getting that on track. But it just occurred to me that I saw somewhere before that somebody was there was a rumor, I guess, floating around that they were going to reboot the Legacy of Kain series. And it occurs to me that if they had a system whereby you could stream, the whole library of games, if they just monitored what games and how often they're streamed, that would be a great metric to see what series they should reboot.
That is a fantastic point.
That is a fantastic point, and it's a great point to end with. And we need to go on to Xbox's conference, which will be coming up here on the 25th, I think it is?
21st.
Yes. 21st? They moved it up?
Mm-hmm. Well, May 21st is their bit. I keep getting emails. I don't know. It's May 20. I want to say
the 21st. Yes. Yeah. 21st.
Okay, 21st. Okay, they moved it up. It was the 25th for a while there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So they moved it up. Xbox's conference, the Xbox Durango or Infinity or
Xbox Infinity, yeah.
Whatever that's going to be.
720 kickflip.
So like
That's
in 5 years, it's going to be the Infinity Plus One, just because we're going to go childish with it. It's going to be nothing but Viva Pinata games.
I was about to say,
God.
what are you going to name your next one if you name your console Infinity? Like,
Super Infinity.
looped back around.
The next box? I don't know.
The next box.
Anyway, Xbox's conference coming up on the 21st, where we can expect to see, well, really, to be honest with you, the giant fiasco either blow over or blow up, because they haven't really denied too much of Adam Orr's comments per se. They've said that it's not going to be restrictive of used games, but they didn't say that they were going to allow used games to have codes to whatever, or that they're not going to sell you codes for used games that are cheaper and whatnot. Because really, to be honest with you, Microsoft's been real iffy on service. When it comes to Xbox Online, Xbox Live is pretty good for matchmaking, but other than that, $8 a month, $9, $10 a month, whatever it is, because I haven't paid for it in a while, $60 a year is it's another bill on top of the internet, where PlayStation doesn't have that unless you pay for PlayStation Plus, but you get a lot of freebies. With Xbox Live, you don't really get the freebies. You still have to pay for games. You don't get free games every month.
Right.
Well, I think though Xbox Live it has other stuff that's sort of attractive about it.
Well, you have to pay for Xbox Live Gold in order to get Netflix, so that's $8 a month on top of $8 a month. So you're paying whatever for internet. Good internet is like $60 a month, plus $8, plus $8. So you're paying $76 a month just to watch movies on your Xbox. Whereas if you bought a PlayStation 3, you pay for your internet and you pay for Netflix. You're done. Yeah, it's $8, and the argument can be said that you're going to pay for this console, you're going to pay for the internet, $8 is a drop in the bucket. That's fine and all, but $8 over the course of a year is a lot of money. I'm going to field this question to Dpad. What do you think Xbox can do to make their console as good as the PlayStation 4 is supposed to be?
Alright, well, first off, what they're going to have to do is, if they want to come anywhere close to what PlayStation is doing so far, they gotta have some kind of streaming feature. They have a Twitch channel now that's a viewer, but that's not enough. They have to move it to where you can stream to Twitch from your console or something similar, because if they don't do that, PlayStation's already going to have a pretty good leg up on them. Secondly, they've got to at least match graphics, or at least move to Blu-ray discs. You're still using CD, DVD ROMs, which, I've got 4 discs for, LA Noire when it's on one Blu-ray with room to spare on PlayStation 3. And stuff, it's the little nitpicky things about it, but that are going to make a bit of a difference. Also, Microsoft has come out and announced that they will not be, requiring internet to play, but they will be incredibly internet friendly, was, I believe, the wording that they chose when they were advertising for the conference coming up. So, right now, my biggest concerns are they going to move away from DVD discs onto Blu-ray, for the sake of trying to keep up, because, data-wise, and, they're also, Blu-ray discs are also much more durable than DVDs. That'd be a big jump. They also need to move towards maybe more cloud data, maybe more, just more, across the board access, because, PlayStation already has cloud saves. You can pick up where you left off. They've already got, fast loading times and quick installs.
Now, that's not always true. I'm going to go ahead and interject a little bit here. A good couple of games to think of when you think about load times. Final Fantasy 13 was one, and so was Bayonetta. The load times were horrible on the PlayStation, even installed to the disc, compared to...
They were awful on Xbox, too.
Well, they were awful on Xbox, but they were faster than the PlayStation. So, while graphics wasn't too much of a difference between the Xbox and the PlayStation on Bayonetta, you still had a lot of different games that were just graphically superior on the PlayStation, but tended to react better to Xbox. So my question is, to Talltale is, Xbox was easier to program for last time around because it didn't have a cell processor unit. Now that PlayStation's moved away from that, do you think Xbox is going to have any kind of power behind it?
Oh, geez. I hope so. Just because I like the Xbox and all. But I think ultimately what you're looking for is, well, what I'm looking for anyway, is something that's open to exploration and finding stuff and accessibility as a developer, as someone who's trying to put stuff out there and get into the scene. And I don't know, it can be intimidating. And I know one of the things that got me very pumped about, maybe I can actually get into this stuff, was the whole Xbox indie thing. And so I don't know what both consoles' approaches are going to be, but I think that's going to be very important for the long-term success of either console.
We need to move on to the next topic. Bungie's new game, Destiny. They released some information on that in the past couple weeks, that they're going to have, not only you're going to have to buy the game, but there's going to be microtransactions, DLC, and subscriptions for the game. I gotta just point out, this sounds like a giant cash grab. I love Bungie, but if you're going to have microtransactions, subscription-based bonuses, and DLC in a console game, why the heck do you have to buy a disc at full price?
Especially one that's not even like on an MMO kind of format. It's like, it's at most co-op, I think, maybe with competitive multiplayer.
With Phantasy Star Universe, I understand the subscription, but the problem is this. If it's considered a multiplayer game, not a massive multiplayer game, if it's just considered multiplayer, you're going to have Xbox Live Gold, so that's an extra $8 a month that you're going to put onto that. What are your thoughts on that? And I think we'll head over to Ramble this time first, because you didn't want to be first last time. So,
well, I had announced that it was going to incorporate, not necessarily be an MMO, but incorporate MMO elements. You knew that was marketing speak for it was going to be the worst of both worlds, because you think back to when this is being developed. It's not like you're going to change horses, midstream. You're seeing what Diablo 3 was doing, Real Money Auction House, what a lot of other games were doing at the time. And I mean, it's trying to get in on some of that action. You're seeing DLC microtransactions, so many games, and they know that the publishers, developers know that they can get away with it because people have already been showing themselves more than willing to, especially in with either developers or with franchises that they've already got a fan base, an established fan base on. Because you release a new title, and people are gonna want to switch over to that, and obviously, if it's multiplayer, you're gonna have to play with all your friends, which means you have to pick up the new game. But no, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised in the least, just because of the track record with other notable or AAA titles.
Okay, now I can understand that point to a little bit, but the problem I have with industry standard is you can look right now on Diablo, it's failing with the auction house. It's hard. It's so bad that they're getting rid of it for the PlayStation 3 release. Now, I guess the next question that comes to this is, are they going to go with the freemium model like PlanetSide 2 did? Are they going to go free to play and just have boosts? And I haven't played Defiance yet, so I don't know what that's like at all. I know you buy the game, you can play it online with friends, but it's feeling really bad right now. It's almost like they're trying to get as much money for some other project just by throwing this one out there with a whole bunch of stuff that you can put money into. This game easily comes out to, and if they have one DLC, this game's $60, and you pay probably about $30 in microtransactions, and you have a subscription for maybe about 2 months. It's going to easily run $120, and I have to ask, Hunter, do you think that is worth it for any game 2 months out cost you $120?
If you were wealthy, I'm sure that's not a big problem, but for the average person that's, sometimes might have to stop and battle with some internal conflict over whether or not they want to drop $60 on a game, that's absurd. I mean, that's way too much, but somebody's going to pay it. And it just comes down to what's going to happen ultimately with how many people are actually going to do that.
Yeah. I wonder how much of all the pricing stuff is Bungie and how much is Activision when it comes to Destiny, because I don't know, I never thought of Bungie as the sort of developer that would, aim for that kind of thing.
They still have a fairly untarnished
Bobby
reputation.
Kodak's got to pay for his new $63 million raise.
I don't know.
Somebody's got to pay for that.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be us as gamers. Okay, that kind of moves us on into the next topic here, because we got to kind of wrap this up. There is a difference between freemium and free-to-play models. Most people wouldn't know the difference, but there is a difference. Free-to-play is being able to play the game in entirety without cash-out purchases actually affecting in-game at all. And by in-game, I do not mean like experience points or chance to enchant kind of thing, enchant fail-safes, like most RPGs do that are free-to-play. Freemium would be like PlanetSide 2, where you can instantly buy gear or anything like that to increase your stance in-game. It actually affects gameplay somewhat, either by affecting it a lot or not. A very notorious freemium game is the My Little Pony Gameloft game, where you have to spend, what was it, $120 on Celestia?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Was it 100 on Select? Wow.
It was something like that.
Well, anyway, the freemium model versus the free-to-play model. The free-to-play model is not popular with most gamers, just because it's been nicknamed pay-to-win, which, really to be honest with you, it isn't that. If anything, a freemium model is pay-to-win, because you, like I said, in PlanetSide 2, you could buy guns. I could buy an upgraded gun and rock harder than anybody that just started the game. I could just start the game, buy a gun for $20, and get like 20 kills before I die. So my question to you is, since a lot of companies are going freemium instead of free-to-play, what do you think this is going to do to affect the gaming industry?
Oh man. I think there's a couple ways it can go. I think you're either going to see that games are going to become, I guess, less meaningful, if that makes sense. It's going to be more about not necessarily the pay to win, but kind of along those lines. Like, well, I play these several games, and I've got the budget, and I put these things in so I can kind of progress at the pace I'm comfortable with. But none of them, you don't really get invested in them. Or you're going to see, and this is what I hope it goes more toward, is that it can be used, I think, to enrich an experience and to make a specific game more meaningful and hold you longer than just like the sort of infamous Vil games where it's, well, I can't do anything more unless I pay some money. But it's if you could do more than you could normally do without being restricted on the front end. Like, for example, let's say you were playing a game where two examples. You've got one game where you can play for 5 minutes unless you pay $5, and then you can play for another hour. Versus you can play for as long as you want with this other game, and if you pay $5 for as long as you're playing for this session, you get someone who runs along with you and helps. So I like the idea of using it to invest in a game that you really like, versus using it to, well, I kind of have to pay to keep doing this game at all, or on whatever level that I like. And I think it's going to go one of those ways.
You'd rather be like Mass Effect DLC, where you pay for an investment into the game, rather than like Farmville, where you just sink cash into it just to do faster.
Pretty much. I would love to see games, and this is just the little inner secret economist in me. I'd love to see games view their microtransaction systems, if they're going to have them, as integrated into the overall economy instead of a separate kind of add-on thing. I would love to see more games do what EVE Online has done, and make it a part of the game that's not the focus of it, and you can use it if you want, but it doesn't. I don't know. I love the Plex idea.
Nintendo recently has made headlines because they have uploaded all, and I mean all, of their gameplay footage of every game that they have onto YouTube's content ID system. They've been taking down a lot of Let's Plays and stopping them from making money on advertisements, and instead Nintendo's making money on these advertisements. And I have to ask what your thoughts are on this, because really, to be honest with you, Nintendo maybe makes $100,000 per popular Let's Player, maybe a little bit more, on their games. For someone like us, that's a lot of money, but for Nintendo, that's like a weekend at Maui.
It seems very similar to me, like the music industry does with people uploading, other songs, and specifically on YouTube, where these people who upload some of these songs or music videos or whatever they're uploading aren't even intended to make money, and they're pursuing them and stuff. I think it's kind of petty for Nintendo to do that sort of thing. You did hit on what I was thinking with, that's a drop in the bucket for Nintendo, that they're doing it more to control the flow of the information that they're creating than they are to make a profit, I suppose. But I mean, I guess every penny counts. So who knows what their ideas are? Nintendo is kind of a kooky bunch.
I'm gonna have to agree with that, because really, to be honest with you, gameplay footage like that with Let's Play, it's, at least in America, it's considered parody if there's commentary over it and someone else is playing it. Really, to be honest with you, the way I feel about it is, and the way a lot of Let's Players and gaming journalists feel about it, are simply this: that if you play the game, if you physically play the game, if you're commentating on every bit of it, and no matter if there's music playing in the background or what, but if the game footage is in the background, the sound and whatnot's in the background, audio work, whatever, voiceovers are in the background, they can't really claim dominion over that, because you're the one that played it. You're the one that did all the scripting.
And you bought the copy.
You bought the copy.
The show. You bought the copy. They have no control over that because you've already paid your dues for it. Now, what they didn't do was create the podcast or create the episode that you put on YouTube, and they cannot claim Creative Commons on that.
I get what you mean.
I'm sure there's some legal shenanigans going on where they can claim that since you're deriving your entertainment and the entertainment of others for profit from their product, that they can choose what to do with it. But
Tot
I mean,
E3.
yeah, right. But all I really have to say on that thing is, Nintendo, you're not wrong. You're just a jerk.
I was just going to say that probably my favorite person to watch play games on YouTube is Toby Turner, Tobuscus.
Yes.
And just he's hilarious, and like it's not. I watch his Happy Wheel stuff all the time, and he did the Walking Dead adventure game as a big Let's Play. I went over to watch that not because of the Walking Dead game, even though I'm a big fan of it. I hadn't played it at all. I'd heard good things, but you kind of have I don't know if I really want to get into this game and take the chance. And him playing it and seeing how the game was going and all that sort of stuff sold me, and I bought the game. So if you're going to do the stuff like, well, I'm going to take down all the Let's Plays because they're using my game for profit, that's a great way to get people to not, play your games.
Yeah.
You see, like, this person's having fun. I could be having fun playing the game. I should buy the game, as opposed to like, well, there's reviews, but I can't really see anyone playing it, so I don't know.
I gotta kind of interject on that because there's not a lot of people that trust review sites anymore because of Metacritic. And I really, really, really kind of understand that. Players trust gameplay more than anything, and if the Let's Players are gone, and let's be honest here, it's not just the Let's Players, it's people like Total Biscuit. Total Biscuit got hit too. He doesn't do Let's Plays, he does first looks, he might have like the first 15 minutes of a game. That doesn't hurt Nintendo's game. If they're trying to say that people can watch the entire game and not buy the game, that's okay for someone who does an entire Let's Play. That argument can be made, that discussion can be had. The discussion cannot be had for someone like Total Biscuit, who only does like first 15 minutes or does a review that has sporadic gameplay throughout. The problem is this, really. Without Let's Players, Minecraft wouldn't be where it's at.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god, it would be still unheard
Terraria
of.
wouldn't be where it's at. A lot of games wouldn't be where it's at right now, and it's stupid to think otherwise. I mean, it's free publicity. They're making a living off of it, which means they can do more of it, which means they can hire people to help them, which means they can do more games, which means, guess what? More publicity.
I'm sure you guys all know about the hoopla with Colonial Marines and how it was an enormous letdown.
Yeah.
Well,
I had to review
Okay.
it.
Enormous letdown?
understatement. Just indulge me.
I think bison crap smells better.
So, if all the Let's Plays go down and people don't trust game reviews, then it's left to whatever medium comes next beyond that, which I believe might be studio-produced gameplay footage. It might be just that's left to sell people on games, in at least the YouTube space, and that would mean that they can use their fancy rendering techniques and beautification and all that, like Colonial Marines did with their demo, to entice people to buy something on kind of car salesman-esque.
Yeah, to
ethics.
artificially make it. Yeah.
Yeah, artificially inflate their game's ability to provide what they say
Exactly.
they'll provide. Now that's a good point. Now just imagine what if we were teased with Colonial Marines that Gearbox actually did the demo for, and we open up the box and there's an Atari 26 cartridge that says ET on it.
I'd be ready to fist fight somebody.
Oh,
I
God.
would be in the street looking for somebody to punch.
Yeah.
I think there would be a couple nuclear warheads heading for Sega's
There would be
doorstep.
fire, and there would be gnashing of teeth.
Right. We'll just get like word of
Dead hedgehogs everywhere.
all of them, but just word of mouth it's how you sell games.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is just and stuff like Let's Plays and YouTube stuff in the first looks. that's just online word of mouth, and you can't do away with that. That's how you sell things. I don't know.
You're in a social media age. If you're really trying to push your Nintendo Direct, really, to be honest with you, I really don't care what some guy that works for Nintendo is saying up front. That's the reason why I didn't buy Nintendo Power after I turned old
They're
enough
just
to
trying
know
to sell
better.
you a car.
Nintendo
Right.
Power was their own magazine trying to sell you their own games, which half of which didn't never come out. Hello, Star Fox 2.
Oh, true that.
It's so silly to think that a game company can do better than the people that are already selling
But
their
you just
games.
have to wonder what the meeting's like when they decide on a policy of, okay, you can buy this game, but you can't show anyone.
It's a secret.
It's a secret. Yeah, make them buy it if they want to see
Again,
It's
what
a
it's
secret
like.
to everyone.
Secret, everyone.
Who was in that meeting? I don't know.
Not to say that this is the only reason, but I definitely think that the news that hits following the Aliens Colonial Marine launch is would definitely be an excuse for any for Nintendo to want to restrict the gameplay footage and honestly people talking about it, because in this age of social media and whatnot, you can have publicity is good publicity unless it's bad publicity, because when that goes viral, people grab their pitchforks and torches, right? And the last thing you want on your critical launch week, or the week or two following launch, is for everybody, all the buzz about your game to be negative.
I got a better idea instead of doing that. How about make a good damn game? I mean, seriously,
here's
is
another
that
thing that
hard?
Too, but there's a difference though. Like, I understand the make a better game if there's technical problems and and horrible things like that. Like, oh, they just didn't finish it, like that sort of thing. But if it's this game is designed to be a certain way and it's finished, it's just not everyone's cup of tea, and everyone that's talking about it hates it because it's just not their thing. I can see that. Like that's a game that can get killed on buzz, that there was nothing wrong with this game, it's just not a game for you.
Like
Versus-
Superman 64, right?
Okay, I got 3 points to that argument. Okay, we can go through this and pick this apart here. Okay, we got two games in recent memory that were so horrible, so terrible, they should have never got finished and or made. Duke Nukem Forever, Aliens Colonial Marines. There you go. Two major AAA titles. One took 12 years. Another took 8. It's stupid. Then you have a game that's like no one likes, but it's technically good. I can think of two off the top of my head, and I just can't remember the name of it though. It's been labeled the big boobied sorcerer game. Sorcerer's game.
Dragon something?
Yeah, Dragon's Cross or something. I can't remember.
Dragon's Crown?
Crown. There we go. Crown. Dragon's Crown. No one likes it because it's over-sexualized, but it could technically be a good game. I mean, there's that kind of hype, I guess you could say. It's technically a good game, but just no one doesn't like the visual appeal
I
to
think
it.
that's off of one
Versus,
character perspective.
it's not a good game at all. It's not a good game at all, and there's hype over it because of a freaking trailer. I mean, we're going in the complete opposite direction where they're trying to hype it up and make people buy it, and then say no refunds, versus people not wanting to buy a pile of crap.
Well, here's another example. If something gets out before it's supposed to, or if certain things, a lot of games have to live off of hype because nothing sells like bewilderment and wondrous imagination of what could befall you. I mean, look at what Grand Theft Auto 5 has done. We've gotten screenshots, beautiful painted images, 3 movie trailers of each of the of 3 characters in the game, and other than that, we don't really know anything.
That's fine and all. The media blackout is not what I'm talking about. It's not that. It's the fact that Let's Plays after it comes out are getting scrutinized because of making people not want to buy it. People are skeptical about buying games because it's $60 for a game plus whatever DLC, whatever subscriptions you need to play it. It's so silly because people are starting to be frugal with their money. They're starting to be smart they start making smart decisions when it comes to buying games, versus I want to say 5-6 years ago when people would just buy whatever EA or DICE or whatever threw at them because it was the next whatever in the line.
How many Maddens did we get away with?
I think 25 is coming out this year.
Right.
Oh God.
It's so stupid because it's the game company's fault. It's not the Let's Player's fault. It's let's make a good game. It's been done. Lost Odyssey is a good JRPG, and it's not Final Fantasy. Star Ocean was a good RPG. It's not Final Fantasy. Let's look at a good shooter. I mean, Killing Floor is a decent survival shooter, and it's not Left 4 Dead. It's not Resident Evil. It's none of those things. It can be done. It's just people have to invest capital, and the problem is we're not going to get that as long as investors keep punishing risk that can reward companies versus taking the safe route and making a crappy game that people are going to buy because they overhype it. I mean, to be honest with you, Black Ops 2, why did most people buy it? Because they saw FPS Russia in there.
It just seems to me like when you're a 14-year-old who's got his Xbox Live headset and you're ready to scream how you copulated with someone's mother over the internet, you're more paying for the community surrounding the game itself than the game at that point. You're playing because you know that a ton of people are going to be playing it as well, and you want to be part of, I don't know, that herd, I guess. And I think that's the psychology behind the Madden franchise still being around, the NCAA games being around, and all that stuff. So I think the video game companies are more trying to ride that wave, and they feel really secure and smug in well, there's so many people that already love this game, and all they've seen is the title. We're going to be awesome. We're God's gift, etc., etc. But then
it's kind of like how we got away with Scary Movie 1 through 10.
Are they in Roman numerals yet?
I'm not even counting anymore. Well, okay. Well, since we're at the end of this roundtable discussion, I just want to end with this point. You can ride the wave as long as you want, as long as the wave is made of money and not crap from the overflowed toilet you call a game. There's a lot of discussion that can be had in these topics that we have here. We could, like I said, literally go on for days, and I actually have like a few more that I scratched off because we just don't have time. Tall Tale Hunter Ramble, thanks for coming in and doing this last minute. In case you didn't know, yes, we did promise Gabu. Yes, we did promise Danielle McRae. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts didn't help there. Danielle is a professional VA, so we're not going to hold her to that. Gabu's got stuff to do. He's got work. We all have lives outside of this. Gasp.
No, thanks for showing up. It's been a blast.
No, but thanks for showing up. Yeah, because I did have to mention that because I did tweet about it. Unfortunately,
That's what you get.
That's what I get.
You dirty hype monger, you.
Yeah, for trying to hype something up. Hey, at least I'm owning up to it. Unlike Sega. Product of Time Gate right here.
Sure thing, Activision. Whatever you say.